You can chat hear us
think
now.
so. Hi, chat.
Hi, chat. Are we working? We apologize. It's definitely a Romulan problem.
It's coming through now.
Yeah, Romulan's messing with the...
Awesome. Just a quick note, we will be doing a raid over to one of our partners' raid streams that is going on currently for the Gender Meowster's 3rd anniversary, streamiversary event. And so we will do a raid at the end of this stream for that. In the meantime, take it away, Nick.
Greetings, everyone. Today, as we were talking about, we will be running a one-shot in the wonderful world of Star Trek. And before we get going, for everyone who of our new time players, as well as everyone who's watching, we're going to do a quick run-through of the different elements that comprise our checks, and just a little bit about each of these attributes so our players today know why they will be asked to roll certain things. Don't worry, group, as with anything else, once we are running things, you don't need to worry about which one of those specifically. I, as the GM, will be helping decide for you what you're rolling. This is just to give you an idea of why that's going to be the case. So we're going to start off with your attributes to a screen that I definitely have up. Absolutely do. Just a moment, team. Okay. To start off for attributes, our first attribute we're going to cover is control. This is controlling and dexterous, methodical movements, both in deed and in thought. So doing very critical data entry of something would still be a control type activity. You are using that methodical nature in order to accomplish that. Staying cool under pressure is also control, keeping control of yourself. All of these attributes and disciplines today, remember this is looking in terms of Star Trek. This is in terms of a spacefaring job that you have, and what would be the kinds of ways to describe this. So fitness, just like it sounds like, is pretty much anything physical that you're still needing to do in the future. Anything that we don't have gravity lifts and maglevs for, or anything else just to take care of, that would be fitness. Presence is a very outward attribute. This is your charisma, your ability to influence others, your leadership, your ability to give your Captain America speeches and inspire everyone. Also, your ability to convince others. So that can also be a negotiation technique as well. Daring is the opposite of control. If you're not being careful, you're being daring. Pretty much, if you are, and often in a situation in this game, there is the control way to do something, and the daring way to do something. One could certainly carefully study a door in order to learn the locking mechanism and unlock it, or one could take a pry bar to it and start pulling the thing apart. One is control, the other is daring. Insight is introspective. So if you're thinking about something for yourself, if you're attempting to understand something, if you are looking for inspiration, you are working on insight. And then reason, the opposite, somewhat the opposite of insight, you are working off of data rather than intuition. So anything evidence-based. Research, coming up with hypotheses. Today we will be solving technical issues, as the wonderful ensigns get to do very exciting things, such as repair refrigeration units.
Woo!
Okay, those are all of your physical attributes. Now we're moving on to the disciplines, which are like areas of study within the wonderful world of Star Trek. So we've got command. Anything command level decision, leadership related, that's going to be command. that. Security. Pretty self-explanatory for that. Anything that's going to be an altercation of that sort, working with technical systems that might have safeguards, things like that would be security. Sciences. Pretty broad here for sciences, and has a lot of mix over with engineering as well as medicine. A lot of times, depending, again, on how you describe something, you might be able to make the argument for different disciplines. So make sure that you're describing something as we're going through. If I tell you that something is one way, you're like, oh, I was really thinking of it this way. Let's work that out so we're making sure that we're talking about an outcome in the way that would reflect the discipline you're wanting to use. Con is flight as well as just operating things. So if you're not programming something, but you are working within a very complex program, that would be most likely con, unless you are creating something. That might be engineering, or it might go to science. There's lots of different ways to bleed over your disciplines. Last couple are pretty self-explanatory here, so I'll go a little faster. Engineering, we've got for engineering stuff. The wonderful world of Star Trek is an engineer's playground. There are any number of techno-magical things that you can create with a little bit of bravery and a good roll of the dice here with engineering.
Phasers, warp drives, mast phasers.
Anything like that.
And what I mean by mast phaser is like phasing through mast.
Which would absolutely be a violation of your Starfleet code that most likely you're not going to be violating today.
No.
And then last but not least, of course, medicine. Anything biological related falls under medicine. Again, that can kind of work itself out. To actually do a roll team, you will combine those two, and you'll take your scores, add them together, and that's going to be the number that you're going to shoot for when you roll your d20. You're looking to roll under that number. And that's how you do your scores. Each die that you roll can have up to 2 successes. Normally it's just 1 if you succeed. But if you roll high enough and you are really good at this task, and that what denotes whether or not you're good enough at that task is based on your focuses. So if when you're rolling, if you think there's a focus that applies, make sure you bring that up as part of the roll. And then if you roll within that focus range, then you will actually get 2 successes instead of a single success. And as difficulties can range anywhere from 0 to 5 successes required, this can end up as a big thing. The last big mechanical thing that we need to get into before we can start going on the game here today is momentum. Momentum is a party resource that you will be using together to help you succeed on your checks. As you succeed on your checks, you'll automatically start accruing them, and we'll get into a lot of different ways to use them. One of the primary ways to use them, and why we're bringing it up right now, is you can use momentum to buy additional dice. So if you're looking to, if I say I require that you're going to need 3 successes on a check, you normally only start with 2. So unless you're feeling really lucky, like you're going to get some crits, you probably want to buy some additional dice with your momentum at that time. Additionally, one note for this is momentum is the party resource. The GM also has a resource that I get to play with that is called Threat. You start with 0 momentum as the players. I, as the GM, start with 2 threat for every player. So I start off with 10 threat today that I get to play with. And I can use that in any way that I want to make things more interesting. Like, for example, require an additional success compared to what would be warranted for the situation because something else has happened. All right.
And we're trying to roll low, right? Sorry, let me just check. We're trying to roll low.
We're reversing. 1s are your crits today. 1s are what you want. 20s are the things you dread. There are crit fails in this game that are called complications. Just like your critical successes, I, as the GM, can denote a range of critical failure from the top. So it can be more than just 20. I can bring that down all the way to 16 if I want normally, depending on the roll, and it goes crazier from there. So you'll see all that individually as we get going through here. You don't need to worry about memorizing any of that before we get playing.
And is there anything other than d20s we're going to need to roll for damage or anything like that?
That's a very good question. You will also need d6s that are coded. Jen, can you look up the translator of the d6 for us? Those are the challenge dice. We need to know what numbers equate to which. So
Yep.
reading the challenge dice, Jen's going to get that for us so that we've got that translator for you. I am cheating. If anybody else has access to Roll20, there is a Star Trek version of the dice that's automatically reading that for you. But basically, with the challenge dice, whenever it comes up, there are there's 4 potential options on the challenge dice on the d6. There's a 1, a 2, both self-explanatory. You get 1 of the thing or 2 of the thing. There is a special, an effect, which does all manner of things specific to that specific role or scenario that will allow you to do things. And there's blanks, which is nothing. There are nothing values on these challenge dice, so it is potential to do that. And those are used most often as your damage dice. Those are also used to denote your level of successes with a task. And we'll explain how that goes once we get working into roles. It's very self-explanatory with most of this once you get going. If you've played D&D 5th Ed before, you will pick this up very quickly, no problem. Any other questions before we get going with the mission briefing? And jump in here, team. All right.
No.
Excellent. Our scene begins with a usual way of easing into an episode of Star Trek. We have a beautiful bird's eye, satellite eye view of a planet with our Miranda-class vessel very slowly easing its way across the screen. And the voiceover begins. Commanding Officer's Log. Stardate 44354.2. Corvette 3 has a special plant called the Venus Majoris, a 2-meter-tall humanoid-eating plant, which is harvested to create the delightful Jovian Sunspot drink as well as Jovian Cakes desserts. These dishes are also the star of the Corvette Harvest Festival, an annual event that has become very important since the Borg destroyed the colonies around a decade ago. The Pegasus, a recommissioned Miranda class that was renamed to help rehabilitate the name after the actions of then Vice Admiral Blackwell, has arrived in time for the crew to enjoy the festival. Unfortunately, several of the refrigeration compounds are having trouble keeping power steady, and the supply is now at risk of not meeting the demand for the festival and thereon afterwards. Administrator Farouk, they/them, a somewhat anxious Andorian, requested command staff personnel be assigned so the work gets done right the first time. Captain Malta, she/her, has assigned me, and it is at this time that the camera, you realize, had been black for several seconds and is panning out, and the scene comes in. You are in a refrigeration, basically a giant distribution warehouse, but this entire thing is for refrigeration of this plant, this Venus Majoris. And the black screen, as the camera is pulling out, was actually on Talon's uniform. You see a Vulcan who is standing the straightest you have ever seen any humanoid stand in their entire life. If not for the fact that his mouth is moving, you would be assured that he is unconscious or in some other predicament. Captain Nolta has assigned me, Talon, the honor of overseeing the important task. Your mission is to stabilize the power for the 3 buildings and ensure a loss of no more than 10% of the remaining stock. The plant itself is very adaptable, and other solutions rather than pure refrigeration are also acceptable. However, be advised that under the current conditions, we estimate that it will only be a matter of hours until large portions of the crop will begin decaying. The jungle climate on this planet ensures that without proper refrigeration, it is mere hours before these crops are ruined. As an added bonus for you, ensigns, Talon makes a moment to look up from the pad that he was obviously reading verbatim to you off of. If you do manage to complete your task in time, you will be allowed to go enjoy the festival. According to the notes, you have approximately 6 hours until the festival begins, but I'm told that that takes several hours, so if it takes you slightly longer than that, you will most likely still get to enjoy the festival. And with that, Talon looks around the room, finds the first command person that he sees, which is Ensign Eon, and he hands you the pad. Ensign Eon, it takes you only a moment of reading the pad to realize that literally everything that Talon said to you was on the pad. He
Right.
could have just handed it to you with left.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Talon does not.
Question for the
lead-
DM: what's Talok's rank?
Talon's rank is lieutenant. Lieutenant junior grade.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I'll be sure to read it over.
I took the liberty of reading the assignment for you, Ensign. You
I
may only
appreciate
refer
that.
to it as necessary.
Of course. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Please
Is there
proceed.
anything else that you
Keep going.
wanted that you was not written on the pad? That is there anything else written in the pad, or should we get started?
You should begin immediately if you wish to attend the festival. It was told from
Yes, sir.
the orders something to note to you, and that is, it does seem possible that you need not purely work on the refrigeration units. If you are able to figure out other methods of preserving the Venus Majoris, that is also acceptable.
I don't suppose pickling would be an option, sir.
I don't know.
Flash pickling only takes a few hours,
There
if I
is an
recall
expert
correctly.
that we can call in. I believe that she was expected in an hour or so. I could contact her to see if she can arrive earlier to answer your questions.
If it's not inconvenient to her, otherwise I'm sure we'll manage, sir.
Very well. I shall do that.
Thank you, sir.
As an added bonus for you, so now I'm going to go into the full mechanics of this. I will say, as an added bonus for that little piece that Ensign Eon just said, one of the things that you will be dealing with this, that you very quickly are noticing, is you don't have the best supervisor when it comes to today. A normal command officer could have just handed you the pad and left. He's hanging around.
You know what? Maybe that's
right side, the
a good thing.
gave Lieutenant a great idea that's going to delay him for a moment. So normally he was going to begin interfering with you right away. Due to that conversation, we will skip the first round of him actually interfering with your checks.
Okay.
So, nice work right out of the gate, helping yourself out.
All right. So everyone else is standing around, kind of hanging around.
You are.
In a pack, and he just picked me on. Okay. All right.
He was looking for a command-centered person to hand the pad to, as in theory, you're the one. Someone in command is looking for that responsibility.
Yep.
That was his level of thinking on that.
All right.
I am going to run through quickly as the GM on a little bit more of the exact mechanics for this for you, as this is really the challenge that you're going to be facing today. So you have 6 hours until the festival begins. The festival will go on, the beginning parts will go on for about 3 hours. So if it takes longer than that, you're both in danger of the crops being ruined as well as just not getting to enjoy yourselves.
Right.
For checks on this, how this is going to work is this is going to be an extended level of checks. There is a concept in this game called breakthroughs, which is we'll get into when you're succeeding, but basically you need a certain amount of these big breakthroughs in order for things to succeed. Normally you would be told exactly how many. With today and how it's playing out, it's going to depend on exactly how you go about your problem solving. If you stick with just the refrigeration, I will tell you, if you stick with a single method, it will take more successes in that one thing overall than if you decide to split your efforts, come up with a couple of avenues of preservation, and succeed at those. So it's up to you how you want to go about this, but you're going to need more work overall in one area if you want to focus on a specific solution.
Alright. Are any of you engineers, by the way? Are any of you engineers, by the way?
Yes, sir. Reporting in.
Excellent. So, you... I think perhaps the way to start would be determining which units are malfunctioning, and maybe you can take a look at them, and if they're easy fixes, and I know a little bit, we could maybe assist you. Start with having our engineer take a look at what we've got, what we're working with, what's going wrong.
GM.
Better solution.
Excellent.
By chance, are there transporters here?
Oh, that's a thought. We just transport them into the ship.
No.
On the ship.
No. We put them in stasis in the transporter buffer.
Can we do that? Is that a good idea, and could it fail badly?
Or we can place them into containers and transport them into space. They can. Space is fairly cold.
Yes, but also vacuum might negatively affect them.
Well, that's why I put them in a container that will keep them otherwise preserved, but the temperature change.
Unfortunately, the cargo transporters, while capable of moving the material, you don't have time to move all of the crop off planet or into stasis before large swaths of it would spoil. So while you certainly can use the transporter to assist yourself with tasks, you could use it to test suspended animation things, for example. There's a lot of things you can use that for. It will not be a solution unto itself.
But if we began, do we have access to any refrigerated space on the ship? Is there any that we know of that could be brought down on our ship that we could start putting things into, have some of the warehouse workers start setting them up there just to preserve a little bit while we work on other solutions?
You would need to have Talon check into that, and he left the room to speak with the other person. He will be back at the start of the next round. So you're going to get 2 checks per hour. So you're going to get a total of opportunities for 18 checks here. And each person can do 1 check per round, up to.
Okay.
Certain tasks will take longer.
All right.
That's your minute.
We could always commandeer the holodeck. Set it to some Arctic scenario.
That's a possibility. Does that... No, the question on that is, does it actually bring the temperature down, or is it just like a messing with the human nerves to make it feel
Considering the fact that the holodeck can actually legit kill people, I'm pretty sure.
As long as you turn off the safeties.
Yeah, whatever's there would be considered, and you could turn off safeties. You could there are definitely ways that you could utilize that if you so chose.
All right.
Bays are also capable
Holodeck
of
typically makes use of
environmental controls,
replicator technology to generate material, so...
you'd be using the cargo base, really. Those would function better. You'd be aware of that those would be much larger than the holodecks, and also with the environmental controls would be an ideal place to store this stuff. Again, not enough to make an appreciable difference, but yes, that is a capability, something you could run through. It's more useful to you in these scenarios for testing, I'd say.
And who is in charge of the warehouse? Do we have like a supervisor who runs the warehouse who might be able to tell us which buildings are failing, what units we should start with, which ones are kind of working?
You have the comm channel for Administrator Farouk. They, them.
Yes, and Farouk is...
They are a human administrator.
Of this building. Not a Starfleet officer, but
of the colony.
Of the colony. Okay, and we don't have contract for the specific warehouse people.
Farouk oversees that, as this is one of their major exports. So you could try to speak to someone like the manager, but Farouk is really your person. Farouk is a great resource for this.
Okay, they're our person.
There you hear me. We had a idea to take a look at the refrigeration systems and take a look. So why don't we start there? So we need an engineer.
We have one.
All right.
Absolutely. There's nothing that would make me happier.
Yeah, take a look at your tricorder and see what you can figure out. A good old diagnostics check. So that's going to be control engineering.
Let's see.
If you want, take a moment to describe your characters.
Oh, yeah, that would be helpful.
I'll start.
Fair enough.
My character is Jenny LaRuga. She's about 5'11" and has green hair.
Okay.
Well, green with blue tips.
All right.
All right. So I am playing Ensign Nahlis Linares, first name Linares, is Bajoran, he, him. He is pretty standard Bajoran, close-cropped hair, got the nose ridges. He eschews the kind of elaborate, like, ear piercings. He's got a very simple, like, double piercing with a chain type of thing. He does have a tattoo of the Bajoran, like, homeworld crest behind his left ear. Otherwise, fairly standard security personnel.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, Ensign Davies, Ian, is they sort of plain-looking human. He has one small stud in the right ear, but other than that, it's just fairly short hair, very just basic, very plain looking, nothing really noticeable at the face, just kind of plain looking human, about 6 foot, even, uniform is perfectly no weird alternate, just, perfect the regulation, combat placement, everything, just basic. The most standard out-of-the-box ensign you could get, except for the one thing, which is a little weird. But, a little, I would guess, culturally unusual. But other than that, just nothing fancy, like basic human. Textbook human.
Hey. By all means, go ahead.
It's all you.
All right. As you like. So the engineer who stepped up earlier, Star Trek knowers may have already figured out Z is a Regelian of the Gelma subspecies. Zem pronouns. Instead of the long wild hair Regelians tend to have, it is very close cropped military. They're big, but they're compacted because their job is crawling through Jeffrey's tubes, and so they have to get small. Terrible posture.
And lastly, there is a science officer. She is Ensign Rial Natalia. Real is the family name. She is half Bajoran. So there's a very faint set of nose ridges, but no ear in that regard. She has a mass of red hair piled up in a TOS style beehive on top of her head. And she is already shoulder deep in these things, trying to figure out more about them.
Ooh, that's helpful. Okay.
You can see the blue of the uniform and a head floating along above the piles of crops. But that's about it. She's not very tall.
Ensign Rail? Real? Is there, did you notice anything about them? How bad are they? How decayed are they? Do you know? Can you ascertain based on looking at them? I understand you're a science persuasion.
They have not decayed at all yet, but I can. The tricorder says the molecular degeneration is happening, and that means we're going to get messy really quick.
Right. Okay. So not too bad yet. That's a good sign. And.
All right, so you can go ahead and so you know what's going on. You know that they're handling it okay right now. As you'd heard, they're going to start decaying in a little bit. You could go ahead and start working on each of your things. So if you want, you can be working on the words. The metal and things that make up, the materials of the refrigeration units.
Is there refrigeration units, if I recall correctly, usually have a central machinery part, and then that it starts with, and then the rest of it's just insulation, like a motor and cooling pipes. Usually, do we know where the motor is in this particular warehouse? We'll start here and go from there.
The motor is centralized for how many warehouses there are. It's a centralized cooling, and then there is ductwork throughout. So you realize quickly that everything seems to be working well in here, as you realize you haven't been checking the sources. So you'll need to go outside and take a look at that. Let's go ahead and do the same check for that, and this time we will do the full roll with difficulty. So, in order to get a really good quick understanding of this whole system, this is going to be a difficulty of 1. So you're going to need a success. You get to start your roll again. The check is control. Engineering. Or, excuse me, reason engineering, I said.
Reason engineering. Okay, that works. Let me see what I got. Probably not great.
And again, you're all as a group together right now, so any one of you can help or supersede on this if you've got a really good engineering or reason score. You're looking for, again, the high combo of those numbers.
I have an 8 in reason.
I am assuming our engineer is better at some of those.
I have a total of 15 on that, so I don't know.
Oh, wow, that's actually
anybody
pretty
else.
That's incredibly good.
Yeah,
that's the best you can do as an ensign.
To give the range, 8 is considered average for the total. 10, 12 is you're pretty good at your job, and then from there you're getting to be levels of expertise.
Okay.
Now that's off the
Okay.
total.
Yeah.
Your one number isn't going to be that high. That's again off the total of those two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Zone X. It sounds like you are exactly our Zem.
Alrighty. Well, that is a 15 on the die, so
Need to beat.
Okay, so that is a success, and you're going to roll 2d20s to start. So go ahead and roll the second one. See if you can succeed on that as well. If you do, you win a momentum for the team.
the second one is a 1.
Hey, you get 2 successes.
Man,
So
that's good.
to recap for everybody how that just worked is we had a target of 15, 2 dice were rolled. One was a 15, which is a pass, that's 1 success. And then a 1 is always a critical success. And there it was. We had a critical success, so we had 1 success and 2 successes, 3 successes total. The difficulty
Listen, I know
assigned to
fixing
GM
six,
was
that's my
1
job.
success. So you had succeeded, you got 2 extra successes, you got 2 momentum off of this. Again, anyone can use that. Who, I need a quick volunteer to track momentum for the team here. Okay, there we go. You've got your momentum tracker. Again, you can all use that, but it's helpful to have someone who's watching that who's not the GM.
Just got a D8. It works really well because you can only get like party +2 or something like that in momentum. I don't remember exactly. So a D8 for us is a really good choice for tracking that.
And
Yeah,
tally
6
marks,
is
but
the
okay.
max that you can have at anyone that you can have.
But it also doesn't conflict with me using my 6s
It does
as
not.
challenge die.
I
It does
was going to use tally marks, but sure.
Oh, the number will fluctuate. Like, I'm going to spend a momentum, and all of a sudden I'm rolling 3 d20s so that I can start working on a preservative that I can spray over all of this food.
Right, and then you kind of scratch out the tally marks as you go. But either way,
Down
if
one.
you have it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the die is better.
this is a resource you want to use regularly and frequently.
So I'm going to be helping.
Oh, hold on. We got the success. We need to explain to you what's happened now as a result of the success. You need to learn what you have gained off of this.
You and I are the experienced ones, Ben.
No worries. You're doing great. I love the enthusiasm. The tricorder reads off for Ensign's Onax that the power generation is being tapped out to a green now that the power is fluctuating because it's frequently having to go into periods of overdrive to keep up. So the overall issue is now that you are facing a lack of power. That would be one of the first things to shore this up before anything else. The way that the power is fluctuating, it does occur to you that there are probably other issues with the refrigeration, but before you can do anything else, you will need to stabilize the power. Now, one of the things that you can do with momentum is when you run a check to learn to get information off of a diagnostic, off of a conversation, you can spend a momentum and get additional information. So in this case, if you would like to spend an additional momentum, you can learn additional things from your diagnostic. Up to you. You don't have to by any means.
I mean, that seems like a good use of it, right? Because we need to know as much as we can about the situation. We've got, 2 in the pool?
Yep.
Then
They're there
perfect.
to be-
Yeah, I wouldn't want to use the last one, but if we've got a spare, then...
The part of the fluctuation issue is definitely part of regulator issues. So the power is having trouble being regulated throughout the area to achieve the proper venting, and that is part of what is causing a feedback where the system's having to rev up really high and then having power issues as a result of attempting to run hot for too long. So you might be able to design a solution that would handle both at once. If so, that would be effectively giving yourself a little bit of time back if you could succeed in 2 areas instead of just 1. So that is what your momentum has given you now, is this understanding to potentially speed your repair along a little bit.
Question.
Yeah.
While Ensign Rollo is doing technical, like, diagnosing, are there any warehouse people around? Workers, someone who's moving stuff, someone like that, or is it all automated?
Everything has been delivered for now, so you're not expecting anyone until Talon returns with the person that Talon's going to bring you. Alternatively, again, you could contact Administrator Farouk to see if there's anyone else scheduled, or just get their opinion on things.
So
They
there's no,
did make themselves available to.
but
Now,
there's
again,
no,
they're
like,
expecting command staff, but
right? But there's no low level, like, double checking workers around. Just
you don't see any.
dang. Okay, that would have been a good resource.
Yeah,
Okay.
the warehouses are stacked pretty high with this. It looks to the humans, it looks like giant space corn. There, you don't see the actual corn husk. You don't see the corn part of the husk, but the husk whole part of the plant. If the husk was closed on an ear of corn, it would look just like these. And they are
blue.
They're I love it. They're blue, and they're over 2 meters, so they are big.
And are they stored up and down or side to side? I don't know if that's important, but
like cords of wood.
okay, cool.
Giant log cabin, basically stackings of these monstrosities. Right.
So Ensign Laruga is gonna go over to our engineer friend, our Regalian engineer friend, and ask them if if in their investigation they found a what's it called? So you said it was a power problem?
Correct.
Okay, so Ensign Laruga would go over to our Regalian ensign friend and ask, by chance, would there happen to be, from what you have seen, a hookup for a backup generator?
That would work. It occurs to you.
Because from what I remember, we have a couple dilithium generators on the Pegasus that might help. Lee, you're muted.
Well, I wasn't saying anything important. I'm just like, GM, we do, right? Okay, good. Just checking.
So what is so?
We will say, however, that in order to bring that down post haste, that will cost you a momentum. Now, the benefit of this is that will get around your immediate power fluctuations.
I also have transporter operation. What was it? Focus.
Excellent. Then that is how we will get this down. You are going to run a transporter check. This will be very low difficulty. A regular transporter operation is a difficulty of 2. I, as your wonderful GM, am going to spend 2 threat to increase the difficulty of this to 3 this time. What's going on is the dilithium crystals need to be stabilized before transport, so it's a little bit more difficult than your average transporter run. So
what am I rolling?
The roll is going to be, I will let it be either control or reason, and I can't remember what transporter is. I will say, I'm going to give you a couple options here. You can do control. Is it engineering? Okay. So we'll do control or reason engineering. So you can combine either your control or your reason with your engineering score for whichever one is better for you.
11.
Which one are you going with, control or reason?
Oh wait, 1 second. Let me double check. Control. My control's a 10.
Okay. There is a possibility for, I will say, just one person to assist. Normally in this game, you are only allowed ever to really assist with one. Sometimes today I'm going to allow a second, but for this specific check, I'm going to say there's really only room for one other person to assist. If anyone would like to, and explain how they're assisting.
If no one else wants to, because I've been a little bit of a spot high hog, but if someone else has an idea.
Go for it. How are you going to assist with the transport?
I was going to say that if there is someone I know on the ship who might be, in the on the other end of the transport, I could ask nicely to have them double check stuff to make sure before transport. I'd say, hey, officer, petty officer, can you absolutely check this one important thing that we need? Pretty please. Thank you.
Question.
I like it.
Lower numbers are better, right?
Correct.
I got a nat 1!
That's good.
All right.
That will help.
A good start.
So
that's 1.
So, Ensign Ian, your check for your assisting here is going to be Presence Command. On an assist roll, you roll just 1 die. You don't have the ability as an assistant to get more than 1. You can't buy extra dice.
All right. That's all right. I've got a pretty good presence command. Do we know the name of the
Ensign Jenny, did you roll 2 dice?
The second one was a 4.
Excellent. Okay, so you got 3 successes. So you are already covered. Ensign Ian, did you get some momentum?
I haven't rolled yet. Okay. Petty Officer Patel, can you please make sure that the dilithium crystals, when you place them on the transporter, are aligned properly? Just double check. I would appreciate it. Okay, now we roll. It's a 16 and my combined score is 15, so Petty Officer Patel doesn't like that.
Unfortunately, Petty Officer Patel had other duties and was unable to come to the cargo bay during that time to assist with the transport. He's very sorry.
So the dilithium generators actually are delivered properly. No matter what.
You beam down the generators, and they are going to be ready to hook up. Now, to do this whole hookup and get these going, this is going to take you and Zonax the remainder of the hour. So this will bring both of you to hour 2, but you will have solved your power fluctuations when you reach the second hour, and will be able to move on to figuring out the rest of what's going on with the refrigeration power side. To our other team members, what would you like to do during this time?
Insanalis, why don't you go first?
Well, this Administrator Farouk was brought up several times. I think it's probably a good idea for someone to go and speak with him?
Them.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You do have their comm channel, so you're able to reach out to them whenever you would wish.
I am going to do that.
You get the telltale Star Trek where apparently they weren't actually looking at their screen during that moment, so... Yes, this is Administrator Farouk. Who am I speaking to? He is aware that he's looking at a blank screen because you're just talking to him on your communicator.
What time of day is it on planet? Sorry, I don't know if we established.
Planet side where you are right now, it is... let's see. The festival is starting in the evening, so we'll say you are... This will happen to be a Earth exact time zone thing, so yeah, it's a little afternoon right now.
Okay. In that case, good afternoon, Administrator Farouk. This is Ensign Nahlis with the USS. I don't think we got
Ensign?
the ship name.
Why isn't Ensign contacting me? I had specified that there was no one below command level staff to work on this. Do you not understand how important this is?
I do understand, sir. Unfortunately, nobody of command level was available, and therefore I am taking the initiative.
Important, is it?
I'm taking the initiative to ensure that the situation gets resolved as quickly and effectively as possible. Currently, the rest of the team that I'm assigned to is working on some of your generator issues.
We have generator issues. I just know that
So
we needed you to beam down more power. Have you finally managed to do so?
We're working on that as we speak.
Ah. Well.
As I said, initiative.
You must have someone very effective supervising you then. I will make sure to speak their praises.
Ensign Davies is also very good at what they do.
It would seem so. What can I do for you specifically then, Ensign? I am a very busy person.
As I'm sure is the case. I was simply contacting you to determine whether or not there were any additional concerns that you or any of your personnel might have. Is it possible for us to liaise with any members of your maintenance team or your horticulture team in order to ensure that we are taking proper care of these facilities and these very, very important resources? There may be a slight bit of sarcasm to that last bit of like very, very important resources bit, but
give us a presence or reason command check. Difficulty 2.
okay. I'm going to go with presence and command because that's what I'm good at.
All right.
Any complications?
Nope.
Okay.
I was a little. You've done a pretty good job of quelling him at this point. Of quelling them at this point. The issue is more still their underlying distrust of someone not high-ranking enough in their mind.
Gotcha. Okay. So close to an at one. I got an 11 and a 2, and my presence command is a 12. So
I'll bring this up as a quick note this time. We should be doing this before, but do you have any focuses that apply?
The only one I might have would be xenobiology, but I don't think that really applies to plant life. I think that's more fauna than it is flora, but that's I guess a you call.
It can, however, I will say in this instance, I don't think that's how you were phrasing your request, so I won't have it apply this time. Okay. This is just a reminder for everybody, that's something you want to be looking at with your focuses, is that increases your critical range by the amount of your discipline, if so. So if that had been the case, and it had been and the discipline score was a 4, then that would have been also a critical success, getting 2 successes instead of 1.
Right.
So something you want to be paying attention to as we're requesting our rolls here.
Makes
but okay,
sense.
That's just fine. You got a success then. What was your second roll? What was your second?
So it was a 2 and an 11 on a.
Okay. Oh, right. 2 and 11. You said.
Targeted.
So we got 2 successes. Administrator Farouk is convinced. Well, that does seem as though proper progress is being made. Which is good. You will, from our records, it seems as though the crops will begin failing before the festival. Was the last that I had heard from my folks. You will want to take a look and figure out exactly how much time you have. All of my people have left for the day already to prepare for the festival, so I don't have anyone I can send you. But I will make sure to send you the data of their notes. That should be sufficient for you.
That would be perfect. That's exactly what we need. Thank you, sir.
If you do need anything else, do contact me, Ensign, and tell that commanding officer of yours to keep up the good work. Farouk out.
All right. I would like to go and deliver the data to the rest of the team when I get it on my tricorder.
Excellent.
And then I will pass the scene to someone else.
All right. Just to keep this moving along here, team,
Yeah.
I'm going to be playing with time a little bit as things are moving here. So we're going to go ahead and say that was everyone's great work.
Can I pull my? I want to start a project to build a preservative to protect the plants.
Excellent. All right.
I have a focus in botany, which should allow me to do it.
I'll say so. You are going to need to do a mini project here with this that you are opening up. So how this works, team, is this is going to be a research project. And depending on how this works, this could even be an avenue for one of your big overall successes to getting this figured out. So how this will work is it's going to be a reason science roll. We'll say this is a difficulty 1. And the number of additional successes in additional to momentum will give you some freebie ideas of ways you could go about your preservative knowledge. But basically what's happening here, team, is we're going to come up with a hypothesis, and then we will do additional checks to test that hypothesis. And if we succeed in that hypothesis, then we'll have a solution. And then at that point, you will also need to implement your solution, which will be another check or 2, depending on how good your solution is. And at that point, that will have secured that particular part of your overall project, and that would be considered one of your overall major breakthroughs needed, of which, again, you need 1 to 3, we'll say. Really, more than 3 solutions, you're probably going too crazy for today. But 1 would be, like, again, just focusing just on refrigeration. We now have 2 that we're kind of thinking about. So, all right, that's a little recap of that there. Ensign Real, if you are ready, go ahead and give us that roll to get hypothesizing.
I've got the focus, so that means I get crit on a 2 or a 1.
Beautiful. Sounds good. Set in the heat. Q sends his luck. I forgot to say for everybody, I'm not the GM today, I'm Q.
I got
obviously.
2 successes.
Excellent work. So, you know in general, of course, of coming up with things to slow the reaction. I will say an additional point of hypothesis that occurs to you is working specifically to counteract the climate that you find yourself in. As we had said, this is a jungle climate. There is an extreme amount of humidity here, and that is almost certainly enabling the rapid decay that can occur with this plant material after it's been taken down. Another piece of the evidence that that Nollis actually delivers, that this all ties together for the team, is that the plants show it's an exponential decay model. The plants actually don't decay for the first couple of days when they are cut down and harvested, and then something happens partway through with the desiccation and the drying up of it that it flips, and then it decays very rapidly. Unfortunately for you, everything that is stored in these warehouses is long past that point. So if the refrigeration fails, these crops will fail and decay very quickly.
You said dehydrate the drying, right? So is dryer better?
That's assumed that that's part of it. That's a very good
Question.
It's a very
Because
good idea.
if it's humidity problem, we can put them in water. If at least some of them, that'd be a project thing. If it's the opposite, we could probably get a dehumidifier in, right?
To refresh.
I can hear you.
Same.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can't hear Lee.
Lee, keep going. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to say, is it the dehumidifier or humidifier?
That is a great question, and something for you to research, or the team to research, in the upcoming hour here. So we're going to say that was an hour past, team. You've done great strides through getting yourself understood on the first few areas here. At the top of the second hour here, the person that you had requested, Ian, arrives. A tall, burly, rough-looking Klingon woman named Braxt. I can't make enough X's there. There are 3 X's. Braxt. That's how she pronounces it when she walks in. It's very difficult for a human to pronounce, of course. I am the harvester of the Venus Majoris. What do you need to know? She just walks into the warehouse and belts this out to no one in particular. So you all hear her.
I happen to have the friend to the Klingon or friend to Klingons trait. So I think I would like to go and approach her in as traditional a Klingon way, while still being respectful, of course, as possible.
Please.
What would be the best? I was not actually expecting this to come into play.
I laughed so hard when I saw that on the sheet.
1 second.
In the spirit of the one shot, felt it would be better to have it be a surprise. This was not changed. This was planned already.
I'm not going to try to speak Klingon. I'm so rusty on it that it's not going to be viable. Instead, I'm just going to assume that my character speaks Klingon, and I will step up and say, "Hello, Braxt. I am Ensign Nalus, and I am extremely honored to stand in the presence of one so clearly knowledgeable in their field."
It is a worthy battle with these things.
I see the decay has already started to set in. The battle against time is the greatest battle that one can wage.
You will not lose my killings. How may I assist in your endeavors?
I will actually, in that particular line of questioning, I will defer to the rest of the team, because my character's engineering is 1. Science is decent, but otherwise he's a security guy, so he's gonna look to the rest of the team and be like, "Anybody?" By the way, I did get the information from the administrator, and I gave that to
It's been disseminated to the
Ensign
team.
Real. Okay, perfect.
So at the top of the hour here, we'll part of this too is, remember, you all have comm badges. You can talk to each other. This is not a medieval setting where you have to make sure that information is being relayed. You all have instant communication access with each other. So unless you are saying otherwise, we're pretty much going to assume, to move things along, that you are sharing collaboratively with the entire team.
Perfect.
Just like Rollo is very annoying about this. They refuse to do anything without informing everyone of what they're doing. So it's just like every few seconds, repairing Procyon loader, engaging couplings.
It's at this point that Talon walks back in and looks over and sees Zonax doing this. Excellent. That is a perfect way to provide updates. And he walks over to you, Zonax, for this. So lucky you have been chosen for the next round. I think for the fun of fairness here, I will do it this way. So you have been chosen by Talon for this moment, which means he's going to be assisting you. Talon providing assistance to a particular character will increase their complication range by 3.
Oof.
And increase the difficulty by 1.
Fantastic. Love to hear it.
There are, of course, as you have already seen, there are ways that someone could work to remove Talon as a complication for that particular person, or not. That is an avenue that is available to you.
What is Talon's specialty? Like, what role does he play on the ship? Or like, what track is he in? I guess.
I was just thinking how to answer that. He's ops. He is a data analyst. He's a data specialist.
That's the title they gave him to shut him up.
His position on the bridge is ops.
Can I then, as a fellow ops person, come to him and basically say, excuse me, Lieutenant, I was wondering if you could help me make sense of some of the data that Administrator Farouk sent over to distract him from helping?
You most certainly may. This will be a presence, and I will let you choose either command or engineering.
I'll definitely go command because it's better. So, presence and command, right? Okay.
Presence and command, and the difficulty for this is going to be 2. So one thing with this, I've been doing a little bit of it, but to state it for everybody, is part of the idea of Star Trek is, as professionals, you are basically aware how difficult a particular task will be when you're going to do it. So as Q, I need to be providing you the difficulty prior to your roll. So if we're discussing something and I haven't given you the roll, especially if it sounds like it's going to be a little bit tougher, make sure you plug me and make sure I get that for you.
Okay. And so it's just difficulty 2, no additional complications, anything like that?
Correct. Talon himself isn't able to interfere with you, so he's not increasing his own check that way.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So in that case, that is a 9 and a 7, so 2 successes.
Excellent. I see, Ensign. Yes, this is data that should be tabulated and processed exactly in order to prevent any fallacies in our understandings. Very well.
We definitely don't want any fallacies in our understanding, yes.
All right. You have 1 momentum remaining right now, correct? I will let you spend a momentum to distract Talon for the remainder of the hour. So normally each success distracts him for a single time period. I will let you spend a momentum to increase the amount of time that Talon spends with you.
Now, keep in mind, you do have talents. Those of you who... the characters I created, I don't know if Ben took this one or not, but untapped potential, which is required for ensigns. When you spend so when you use a momentum to get an extra die in your roll, and you succeed, you succeed, you get bonus momentum equal to the number of successes.
Okay. I did not spend to get the extra die, so I don't think that'll apply in this case, but I'll remember that for the future. Thank you.
Keep in mind that if you're using challenge die, threat is generated whenever an effect is rolled. I have that for a D6, should we ever have to use our challenge die.
Okay. Is everybody okay with me spending that point of momentum?
Be fine. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I will do that, and that will be what Ensign Nollis is doing for the hour, is pretending not to understand this stuff.
All right. And Ensign Nollis, I will say as well, for your success, go ahead and think of something. You don't have to say it right now. We can wait. We'll come around to it at the top of the hour. Think of some benefit that your analysis of the data has yielded to you. Some little gem of understanding that you can add for the group to use.
Okay.
We'll make that a contribution that comes out of this. Okay. Congratulations, Patch. Zonax has freed Zemself from being bothered by Talon for this time. All right.
But Z wouldn't have a problem with that. Direct supervision is important.
How about direct as in within touching distance? Does that still help? Anyway, team, what would you like to be doing at the top of the second? Oh, sorry, we were the Klingon is around as well. We haven't.
Yes,
we just had the Klingon.
that was what.
Yourself.
I'm hoping to utilize her.
Okay.
Braxt again just belted this out, so we'll come back to that scene where Braxt had just finished yelling and announcing herself, and Nahlis had spoken to her for a little bit before having to beeline when he saw that Talon was heading for Zonax. He had to be like, excuse me, ma'am. So who has approached Braxt in that meantime?
I would have as well, but I will let the scientists go first because I understand that science
Certainly the two
is
of you
important.
can approach and speak with her.
So I'm working through that formula still. I'm going to ask for some tips on the formula to help with the preservative to ensure that they don't to slow the rot, to keep them from rotting. And that's so I can make my roll and hopefully get a boost from her helping me with that.
Yeah, we'll just say that you asked the question generally. I was attempting to think if there's any other specific way we could go with that. I don't think we will in this case. So this will be a reason, or you can ask for the Klingons' insight and science.
I'll roll reason science, insight science, either one. It's the same roll. Using my talent testing a theory, I get to roll an extra die just because.
Very nice. We'll say the difficulty of this is 1. The Klingon very much wants to assist you. It's really more if this request gets lost in translation with her.
Well, since my focus of botany applies, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 successes.
Ah, wonderful. So 3 extra.
Well, no, wait, I'm sorry. I have to drop one of those. I don't get to keep. It says roll an extra die. Do I keep the success on that?
Is it just like the best of those? I thought it was an extra die. I don't remember that ever being a
science testing a theory. It says when you attempt a task using engineering or science, you may roll an additional d20 as long as you succeeded at a previous task covering the same scientific or technological field earlier in the same adventure.
Oh, yeah, no. You just have an additional die then for free as long as you're testing the same area. Yeah, it's a crazy good trait. So
that's
the traits are very good in this game if you're understanding those. They can do things like this.
4. I have 4 successes. I needed 1, so that moves our momentum back up to 3.
So back up to half full on your momentum. Excellent. All right. So Braxt explains a little bit of what exactly you need on the preservative, explaining the different ways that she has witnessed the decay on the plant structure, gives you enough to go on to understand at least what chemicals you would need to start testing to slow the specific decay. Now, one thing that I will say with this check, if you want, since you had so many successes, if you want, Ian, you can go in with the. I will let you basically combine and just kind of treat your success with this. If you spend an extra momentum, you can basically segue this conversation onto the moisture conversation that you had been thinking about.
I was thinking that, and then I was thinking also, is there any specific? Well, I guess she's harvester. She wouldn't know the buildings necessarily. The warehouse, like which warehouses specifically have been problematic, because that would be useful insight into why the power drain's being powered.
I will say that would be a different conversation than this one specifically. So that would still need to be its own check, which is great because you now, thanks to you being able to pile on to rail here, you can basically accomplish both of these in the same amount of time, whereas normally you would have had to have chosen.
Okay, that's good then.
So if you're okay with that, you're going to spend 1 momentum, so you're going to go down to 2.
Right. and then do both roll separately for both conversations?
So you'll roll separately for the conversation about the building. Let's resolve the momentum spend that you're doing here to get you the extra information about the moisture, and then
content.
we'll move on to the next check. So
Gotcha.
the moisture, it is the increase of moisture as you had originally assumed. The extra humidity in the area is infusing the plants with extra moisture. The husk normally works to keep out that moisture when it's alive. The membrane is unable to do that once the plant dies, and it begins instead absorbing extra. It can, and basically what she has observed is that takes time. So that counts for the couple of days that the plant doesn't really seem to decay that much, and then that membrane basically fails after that period of time, and then boom, basically instant decay in a matter of hours after it's taken a few days.
Okay. So dehumidifying might help a little bit if we had someone who had a skill in that sort of thing.
Yes, I would think that if you are able to remove the water, that would take care of this particular issue, and the plant husk should survive longer, or to be made into those delicious desserts. I must say, it does make me enjoy the company of humans, at least a little. She is baring all of her teeth during that part of the conversation.
Ma'am, you would, as someone who keeps an eye on this thing, know that which of the buildings has had the most power trouble?
I don't like to use that one, and she points to a building that's on the farthest away.
Of course.
I keep most of my killings in this area.
Right. That would be something to check out as noted.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would think so. You are bright, you Starfleet people. It pleases me.
I'm very glad we can please you, ma'am. Okay.
Let's go ahead and do... Oh, I had just given you that information, so I guess you just kind of slipped it out over there. We'll have that take the rest of your... we'll have that take the rest of your time here. We'll say that you...
Power of roleplay.
We'll say that you go over to the warehouse and investigate these themselves. You confirm that there are power fluctuations. The generator has mostly stabilized that. However, the EPS conduits, as always, could use a tune-up in order to prevent further fluctuations. Something for you to potentially work on during the next time period.
Okay. I'm not great at engineering, but I have some skill. I could
maybe then alert
hopefully I can't make it worse
and get someone else to work on it.
Let's
also a possibility.
Work together.
Let's call for like a 15-minute break here, as we have one character who has not finished their time period, and we'll come back, finish that up, and move on to the third time block.
Awesome.
We'll see you all soon. We're just going to be a short break. And welcome back, everyone. We are in place and ready to go. We have 2 momentum to Nick's 6th threat, so that's a good place to sit. And we are working on our solutions. Jenny's back after a short issue. We'll get her camera back into place. And you'll see her on screen again shortly.
Cool beans. So we have Ensign Rouja back.
All right, so Ensigns, Zonax, and Jenny. What needs doing for this particular time area right now that would be good ideas for you is the generators have been set up, but you could finish getting those online and power regulated throughout the area to help prevent any more of those power issues. You could also start looking into more of the power issues now that the generator is running.
Yeah.
You do have the ability to do additional diagnostics to figure out what issues that are going on.
We noticed, we found that the last warehouse had conduit issues, right?
Those have the most issues. Yep. So that would be a good spot to check. That would help with that.
And I guess we'll have to wait till next hour to start on the secondary things. But maybe pickling isn't the best solution. I think maybe we should let's focus on the science, and I've got a plan for something else we can do to help preserve.
Okay. Well, I guess kind of what I was thinking. You said in the last hour that we'd figured out that there was some sort of issue with the central power regulation, that it was causing fluctuations that caused the main coolant coil to overcharge sometimes. So I figure it would probably be best to start working on that, because if we can prevent that overcharging, then we can more effectively regulate the overall temperature instead of
That's why.
individual spaces.
That's why I brought the generators down to even out the power.
You have brought down the generators, which have fixed the power issues where it was running too low on power.
Yeah.
Now that that's happening, what is going on is looking into why this was happening. Is it turns out that you didn't have too little power. There were power regulation issues that were causing spikes in the power usage that then was causing dips where the power wasn't able to be generated enough anymore, even though you technically have enough.
Okay, so technically I exacerbated the situation.
No, you shored up the immediate gap, allowing the underlying issues to be investigated. So it was
okay. So I pretty much stabilized the power.
Yep, exactly. You stabilized the power, allowing. So if you kind of think of it with plumbing, you stopped the immediate gushing of the leak. So now you can find the weak pipes and areas and do the real repairs.
So I put a pipe cap on.
You put a pipe cap on. So to figure that out, as well as, and this is something that you kind of understand as Starfleet officers, we'll say this is a 2-person job, and this will take you the entire hour, but if you complete that, then we'll say that then you have taken care of all of this. This is going to be a 2 difficulty task with a increased complication, because you need to make sure that you're keeping this regulated the entire time. Otherwise, you may have some bad dips in power or other issues. The complication range is going to be increased to 3. So if you roll a 17 or higher, then there will be a complication on this roll. And that's going to go for both of you, actually, this time, because there's just enough fluctuation with what's going on that it's going to take both of you being very careful. Who would like to be the primary roller between the two of you? It sounded like Ensign Zonax, but obviously it's up to you two.
I think this would probably be Jonax's plan, that they would bring to someone in command track, because again, they're not just going to do something without talking about it. So,
well, we were given the pretty much the go ahead to do what was necessary.
You're given the go-ahead to research and come up with any solutions. You're certainly aware that as ensigns, now, granted, things like doing diagnostics and repairs are not things of a level that you do need to ask. So this is not a case where you need to ask. But about to spray the entire crop with a preservative, you would need to get approval from Farouk and from your commanding officers before you would go and spray the entire crop, kind of thing. There will be some parts of this, but in any event, then so you're good to go ahead and assemble your roll. So I guess this will be a difficulty 2. You are going to be rolling reason and science for this, or reason and engineering.
Okay.
I will allow science or engineering for this.
sounds good. There is something I have a question about. One of the talents I have says that if I spend 2 or more momentum on an engineering task, then we can add an advantage at no cost. I don't know what that is. Is that worth spending 2 momentum on?
So how that works, and what it means by advantage, it's meaning it very plain language. So this is another case where it's an opportunity for you to add to the story in a way that creates an advantage for you. So you're literally getting to add to the story of something like, oh, I found a subroutine that's going to allow us to regulate these power conduits better, or they had some, or yay, They had a bunch of spare EPS conduits lying nearby, so it's less time for you can kind of come up with something, and we'll agree between Q and yourself that this is a good advantage to use or makes sense for the situation. So I would say that it absolutely can be worthwhile.
Well, that sounds great, but does the group think it's worthwhile? Because it is spending all of our momentum for that.
If it cuts your time and gives you another roll this hour instead of only doing one for the whole hour, sure. Let's see if that
quick
seems
question.
like a good one.
When I did my transporter operations, with my crit, did I get momentum for that or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and it's been used. So the momentum is a party resource that gets continuously used and updated.
And I wasn't sure because I like with a 1, do I get 2?
You did. Yep. So what I'm noting is that that's already covered. So what Jen is describing right now is your current pool of momentum. So don't worry about it because it's not like you don't have to worry about like your momentum that you had gained.
No, I know. I just meant I thought we would have 3, but we have 2. So that means one was dead. Okay.
We've spent and used, and
I spent one while you were gone.
Spent and used.
Oh, okay.
Again. The momentum you're using currently was gained by Jen, actually.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if it sounds like a thing we'd like to do, then I will go ahead and spend those 2 to add to the roll.
Sounds good. And Ensign Jenny, you can roll the exact same for your assist roll. Otherwise, if you've got an idea of a different way to assist other than simply be a second person who's monitoring the power output as you are making these repairs, we can talk about that.
One sec.
Then just go ahead and roll your reason and engineering there, and don't worry about it.
And for what it's worth, I do have a focus in power systems, so I feel like that should apply here.
That will absolutely apply in this instance. Great job bringing it up, and great example of bringing up a focus. Absolutely. Nice.
I'm actually gonna. Wait, did we come down via transporter or shuttlecraft?
That's a great question. I'm gonna say you beamed down.
I was gonna say I used my daring and smallcraft to use the AI on the shuttlecraft to regulate the power.
Oh, it would have been a really cool idea. What I will say you could do with that, if you would like, as an idea that's adjacent to that, is you could hook up your tricorder to the system and request that the tricorder help with that. If you do that, I will let you change your attribute from reason to control, as then it's a fine-tuning of something that you're already used to using, instead of having to think cognitively how you're going to operate the thing.
So from reason to
control.
Okay. And then it's engineering?
Yep, control engineering, yep.
Okay. So that's an 11.
There you go. And Patch it if you haven't already. You are good to roll unless you're doing anything else with your.
I think I'm good. I put it in the chat just so, since I'm using a digital ruler, that is a 17, an 11, a 2, and a 9.
2 would be a critical success for you.
Why are you rolling 4 d20s? You didn't buy. Oh, were you buying dice? Is what you were thinking for that?
Right. Yeah.
So with 2 momentum, you can't buy 2 dice. The cost, how
sorry.
it goes, is it's 1 momentum for the first die, 2 for the second, and 3 for the third.
Gotcha.
So you can spend 1 dice. You can be rolling 3, which we'll just go with the first 3 here. No worries. And
okay, fair enough.
You still have 10 successes on that too.
Advantage thing doesn't matter at all because I have to spend at least 2 momentum for that ability.
Hold on, Jenny, and we'll get to. Nice. I see the 1. Very nice. So sweet. You got 2 from your assist roll as well. So yeah, you've got.
And that's just the first one.
Yeah, you had 3 successes, right? Because we had agreed that your focus was in play. So you got 11 and a 2 that should be passing.
Okay,
So
perfect.
3 and then 2 from Jenny, so that's 5
So
successes.
5 successes on that roll.
And I got a
Good
2.
job, team.
I got
You should
a
only be
1 and a
rolling 1
2.
die, Jenny.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
wait, no, it's just 1. Okay, so I got a 1.
We'll just say 1 then. We'll just say 1 success then.
Yeah, 1. Okay, yeah, my
Fine,
second
fine.
one was a 2.
So
Oh,
4
your first roll was
successes.
the one you're sure? Okay. Well, we'll count the 5 then. That's fine.
Okay. So we've got
Nice
5
work.
successes.
I had
We
said the
spent 1
difficulty was-
momentum.
Yep. I had said the difficulty was 2, so you're up 3 plus the wherever you were at before minus 1.
4. We're at 4 momentum at the moment. Feel free
Okay.
to spend it and earn some more.
All right. So you succeed in replacing the EPS conduits throughout the area, and all of that is repaired. Zonix, because you spent the 2 momentum, your trait activates, and you get to create a free additional advantage for yourself. I will say that this
Sorry, I don't
advantage
think I
just means-
did.
Only 1.
Because
Oh,
you
you
said
only
the
have
one
second
that-
die cost
Sorry,
2,
I
we didn't
meant
have
to
3
give you a way
available.
to spend that extra momentum. My bad. In the middle of that.
You're welcome to spend the extra momentum, but Nick's got to figure out how to do that.
I'll say that I'll do this. We'll say that if you spend the 1 momentum, you'll get 2 advantages out of it. We'll just do it that way.
Okay.
Hard
So
to
we have
argue
3
with that.
momentum.
Using your talent to get you the extra. So yeah, so you can come up with 2 things to 2 advantages for the team. You don't have to say it right now if you're not ready for it. You can think on that. If you're ready, go for it.
Well, the thing that immediately strikes me is this is like, it goes between all the buildings, right? It's the ventilation system.
Correct,
Might
all the
it be
buildings
possible that there'd be some sort of fluid distribution system as well, so the Riel could use her preservative when it's ready?
Excellent. You do determine that the coolant system for the area could easily be appropriated as a sprayer system for any compounds that you create for preservation. So we'll say that you get that basically hooked up and ready to go, so it's now plug and play. You won't have to spend any time configuring that.
Fantastic.
Can I say how I hook it up to the energy system?
This is the coolant system that is already hooked up.
No, the tricorder.
Sure, go for it. How do you connect? The tricorder?
I removed the rear panel of my tricorder and jury rig in a non-Starfleet way, because one of my values is against the book, or not by the book, something like that. Ignore the book. That's what it was. Ignore the book. So yeah, I pretty much non-Starfleet jury rig it into the system to give it a better chance of actually being able to monitor and regulate the systems.
We'll make that your second advantage here. By some miracle, your jury rigging is allowing for extremely fast responses on the power fluctuation grid. You have near instantaneous response time now to any changes. So if you need to make further adjustments to the power grid, that thing is now a magic box. Unfortunately, I'll say right away that this one does come with a potential downside, which is that you are smart enough. You've been with Talon long enough to know that if he sees this, he will freak out and want you to change this back. So if Talon catches this, you'll have to deal with his complaints around that.
I feel like I should say you would also definitely need to do that out of view of Zone X, because, as I say, they report every 12 seconds on what it is they're doing. So,
we'll say for right now, Jenny, you're able to basically just take your massive wires that you've created and just kind of gently hide them behind the console. There's a nice little side dump.
Because I've spent enough time with them. Because I've spent enough time working with my Vigilian friend, I have gone around to the back of the system and taken a rear panel off to jury rig it in.
There you go. It's kind of
So all the massive wires is on the
on the backside of it. Then
the backside things, but on the front side, like where the tricorder is, I just have it looks like a standard application on the
there's just
connected to the
there's
tricorder.
just the 2 wires out of the tricorder sitting out on top.
Yeah, but at the other end is where all the jury rig shit is.
Nice, beautiful. Okay, that is great progress, team. We have got stable power, which is definitely a overall breakthrough in your progress towards establishing stable power. You have got some backups in place, so you're no longer going to get brownouts from if there are further fluctuations. You can now, in the next time, move on to further diagnostics to basically figure out any last bits that are going to be needed to fully get this power thing wrapped up. But you will be looking to figure out the last little bits and pretty much get that squared away. We're moving to the top of the hour here, though, so it's going to be time for you folks to do more things that you're wanting. Something that you notice at the top of the 3rd hour here, unfortunately, is for the plants, especially in that one outcropping that were damaged. While you have repaired the power, the damage was already done. Those are already. They're starting to pack in more moisture, you've noticed, even with the refrigeration temperatures back to more normal. Just the overall humidity in the area is getting into some degree, and it's starting to affect these plants. You're going to start seeing plants begin to decay in the next hour here. So starting next hour, you're going to start to take some crop losses as a result of the previous damages, even though you've done a great job slowing that up going forward. But okay. Back to you, team. What would you like to do? I will say Brax has hung around for this hour, so if you have any remaining questions for her before she leaves, you are able to do that during this time. Otherwise, she's going to be heading out.
Is it possible to take the bull by the horns and get rid of the damaged crops? To kind of
that is a possibility. That is not necessary at this particular stage. Everything is still usable. You don't have any plants that have started crapping.
Right.
That's going to be a problem starting next hour. But that would be something you could do. Would be to remove the ones that are already rotting to get that moisture out of the area.
Is it possible for me to jump in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I got the benefit I was supposed to identify from the data analysis with Talon during the previous hour. And actually what I had written down here is that doing this analysis had allowed me to basically create like a matrix to prioritize what was going to be going bad soonest. And I kind of link that up with the solution that we have that will be ready and allow us to salvage it fastest, so that we can basically kind of like link up windows of opportunity of like, okay, if we get this thing done, we can save this stuff, which means that stuff, and basically kind of line everything up so that it's as efficient as possible is the advantage or the benefit that I was going to propose.
Okay. I like that. So we'll say that you can do that, and this will allow you this benefit is going to open up an opportunity for you, is how I'm going to represent this for you. Thanks to this understanding, you can follow Ensign Jenny's line of thought of what she was saying and basically save the plants now proactively that would have gone bad. So this will be a check, and this is going to take time. If you would like, you can do a presence command check and see if you can convince Talon to assist you with this and use this as your distraction for Talon again.
I was going to ask, if we know which ones are good, that's a good thing, because I was thinking, is there anyone, I could ask Brax, because she's still here, is there anyone coordinating in the festival that I could say, hey, why don't we start the prep a little early, and then we can use these ones first, like
Yeah, that was.
Is there
that was
anyone
where
who
I was
might
going to,
be?
so.
Yeah, like, is there anyone who might be like, if they're going to cook it, can we convince them to do the cooking sooner, a little bit sooner? Just use these now, and that will have. We got Ensignalis knows which ones we need, so we can coordinate that better.
You will
And it
want
wouldn't
to
just be
speak
random.
to Administrator Farouk. My people handle the preparation and hunting of these husks. Once the material and excitement has been extracted, then we hand them over to the Federation, and you handle all of the details. Now,
All right.
one thing that I have been meaning to ask you, Ran, you are very strong and built. Have you ever considered hunting the husks of
I
the
had
planet that we're
not.
on? Corvat, the husks of Corvat.
I had not considered hunting husks. I was raised as not an engineer, an ensign. My mother pushed me into Starfleet, and I think she's right. I have been doing well. This is a tradition in my family. It is the honor of my family is tied up in doing well in Starfleet.
Ah, a waste of muscle.
You'd be surprised how often muscle comes up in command.
Not as a Klingon, I would not. The strong always rule among my people.
That's very fair. Okay, so
So,
knowing this, now I have to talk to Farouk, right?
Yep. So I was going to say
I have the diplomatic security.
I have
so you can do that.
diplomacy. I have double diplomacy actually,
Oh, nice.
and
Really?
good command. And I would say, could I
So with
use
this, I was going to note that
control
while
command?
she did suggest Farouk, if you are looking, one other way that you could actually do some of this that would involve Brax still, excuse me, would be if you wanted to have her help explain some of the areas where people are doing this harvesting and see if you can work off of understanding the areas where people are coming in. You could probably do some geographic study to figure out which areas are probably going to be more moist and that sort of thing. Areas where you're going to need to help prioritize the inputs and thus identify which plants are more at risk from that way.
That would be a thing. I have pretty good. I got 2 focus in diplomacy, and if I can roll a command presence, I could probably convince Farouk
Which
to.
we'll say that is. We'll say it's command present. We'll say it's presence command or reason command for both of
Presence.
these. And
Presence.
we'll say, and both of you, and so one of you can then talk to Brax with this check, and we'll say one of you can talk to Farouk and handle both sides of this conversation.
All right, I'm leaning toward Farouk. Just
okay.
I know
good.
Farouk is probably going to be more difficult, and I put on the face.
He will not know he does not know your face. So, and unfortunately, your other ensign who did speak to Farouk is busy with
That's
Talon.
okay.
So unless you want to risk
I
bringing
did
Talon into that conversation.
I did
No, but I mean-
note Ensign Davies as the person
As-
in charge of the team.
and
That's
even
that
if
is fine.
even if he hadn't, I mean, face is in like the party member who does the talky bit, like who's skilled in talky. Because I realized this, that's my skill set as an ensign. I don't have science, I don't have engineering, but I'm really good at talking to people. So
Nice. There you go.
go for Farouk. Let's do it.
All right.
Um,
Sounds good. And Ensign Ian, why don't we do your roll first? So both of these are going to be difficulty 2,
okay.
and it's again presence or reason and command will be the roll.
Okay.
And you've got
Um,
4 momentum still at your disposal if you would like to buy dice.
okay.
3 momentum.
So it's a
3 momentum.
2.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I am going to have a little bit of fun here for you, Ian. I'm going to spend one of my threat to increase the complication range
Okay.
by 2 on this. So if you roll a 18 through 20, there will be a complication on this.
Okay, I just gotta avoid that. Well, I mean, I'm failing anyway, so I don't. Okay, that's fair. All right.
There's static on the call, so he's having trouble. They're having trouble understanding you. This is to ensure that there's no miscommunication.
Right. Um, Administrator Farouk.
Yes. You are not the ensign that I spoke with.
No.
Who are you?
That would be Ensign Nollis. I'm Ensign Davies. We are co-leading this team, and
he did say that you were being very helpful on this. I suppose I
had
have a
hoped.
few moments for you then.
Excellent. I won't take too much of your time, Administrator. I was wondering if there was anyone we could coordinate with in terms of running the festival, just to make sure the distribution goes through. Our power couplings are set up, and we have several of the warehouses have been completely set up in terms of that. One warehouse is giving us a little trouble, and if we managed to coordinate better with the festival organizers, we could make sure that doesn't cause too many problems.
I see. They have already requested their perfect times to receive the plant. Why would I want to readjust their timetables?
I think it would be in their best interest to do so, and I would hope that if I could speak to them, perhaps we could negotiate a different time. It would help us immensely. It would make sure more product got through. We're definitely going to have enough, but it would get us better. Higher percentage is better. We'll have enough to make the festival good, but we want to make it great. And I think we can do that if we coordinate a little bit with the festival. And I hope that you would help with that.
Well reasoned. Take back one complication range here, so now it's going to be 19 or 20 only for that. You helped sync that up. Go ahead and give us your rolls. What happens here?
One of them is an 8. So that's 1 success.
Okay.
And I have 2 diplomacy, so that one of them is a 19.
Oh.
So I have 1 success, but 1 complication. I don't know how you want to play that, but
guys, my phone is doing it again. I think it might just be a good idea for me to completely.
All right. Hopefully, I fix it later.
Take care.
Yeah, well, it's my phone and not a computer, so it might just be that
it's intermittent. It can't handle too long.
Too much is going on. It worked fine last month, but
yeah.
Sorry to see you go, Ensign.
Yes.
Sometimes Starfleet is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have an idea. How about I get electrocuted by my tricorder? I have to be rushed back to I have to be rushed up to med bay.
All right.
Poor red shirt. There's a small fire, and we just find you collapsed behind the terminal.
Oh, no! You just hear a boom and see me flying across the room.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Take care.
See ya. All right.
Where were we on that?
That could be a good complication too. Having an ensign injured is not looking so good for us.
If the explosion happens while you're explaining,
it's
what was that? I have to go, Administrator.
I do not know.
So we'll
I'm trusting our engineering team to fix it.
We'll work it that way. So I was going to allow you to succeed at a cost. We'll make this a failure, and the complication is that the complication is that Farouk has lost all trust in you. So
so they're not going to tell us anything
for any future communications if you need him for it, and you won't be able to. And unfortunately, you will not be able to working with the vendors. Jenny, who was supposed to be communicating with Braxt, however, we'll speed this along and say that she did randomly communicate. She did actually get. She got her to agree to assist with that. So you are going to be able to help move some of the crops to some of Brax's people who use it for basically country folk who are using it for their own reasons. Brax can help you get in touch with enough of them that it'll make a slight appreciable difference. We'll say that you actually are managing to overall safeguard 5% of the crop this way.
Sorry.
So you have accomplished that in this time. Let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the team here. What else are we doing?
I'm going to keep working on my science thing, so I will give you rolls. How many more successes do I need on this?
We'll see how this one goes. Now that you have gotten a hypothesis, you need to test your hypotheses. So which hypothesis are you testing?
We're just doing the preservatives, right? We're going to try and preserve everything somehow, like protect it.
Just regular old preservatives. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and give us your roll that we had discussed before. These are going to be difficulty 1s, we'll say. This is pretty easy technology for you to be experimenting on and collate the data and all that kind of good stuff.
Okay. Well, I have 1 success.
Woo! So no additional challenge dice. So how this works on a work track / hypothesis, when you're doing something like this, you've succeeded. Now you need to roll to see just how far along the tree you got. So to do that, you're going to roll challenge dice equal to your discipline.
I have
So what's your discipline in?
4 in science.
Science here. Okay, so roll 4 challenge dice. And there are sometimes traits that allow you to do extra stuff with the effect on this. Not always. But otherwise, you're looking for 1s and 2s here on your challenge dice. And that will be your success towards this individual work track.
Okay, so I got a 2, which gives me a 1. So challenge die result 2, which is a 2, it says.
Oh, nice.
And then I have a 5 and a 6, which is 1 each plus effect. So that's 4 total plus 2 effects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do anything special with your effects? Otherwise, we'll just count them as single successes this time.
I don't.
Okay.
None of my talents affect that. So.
I think that's a momentum, actually. So we'll say for 1 momentum, you can count those 2 effects as successes.
Shall I spend it? That'll give me 6 successes.
Yeah, take the momentum. Take it.
You're already agreed, but I was going to add for extra swinging of the pot there that 6 is required for a breakthrough. So that would be from no breakthrough to a breakthrough, which is what you want when you're doing those kinds of rolls.
Sweet.
So you have succeeded halfway in figuring out the preservative. You are basically going to create a preventative with this preservative that will help increase the amount of time that the membrane is able to hold out against the moisture. So it's going to be a preventative. Once that starts failing, it's not going to be nearly as effective. This is kind of it's preventative. That's how this is going to be designed.
It's basically putting a wax coating on the food.
What if we use if we put the fresher stuff in the warehouse that's being wonky? I don't know if we can move stuff quickly, but if we put the fresher stuff with the preservative in the warehouse that's being wonky, that'll buy us some time, maybe.
I mean, that's kind of the intent of the benefit I was planning to use at the beginning of the
episode. With what's going to go bad first. So if we swap them out,
circle back to it.
Yeah, why don't we do that roll now, actually? And what that's going to do, what basically that's going to do for you, is this is going to delay the amount of time until your crops start failing. So you were going to start seeing a 1% of your crops start failing next hour. If this is successful, that will delay that, and will allow additional successes to delay that for longer as well.
All right. Who's making the roll, and which roll is it?
That's going to be Nollis, who's going to be it's Nollis' idea. I'm assuming Nollis is going forward with this because that's what we're talking about. But it's obviously up to the team. It's going to be a I'll let this say Presence Command. Presence Command or Presence Security, because you're really working a lot in the systems now. This is real database work, and heavy database stuff is often security if it's got any sort of complexity to it, even if it's not really around weapon systems. That are command, but
Okay.
leaving it there.
Originally, you had said that this could also be used as a. This is going to keep Lieutenant Talon distracted.
So what we'll say that
Like joint
Talon will be
action?
distracted during the time that you're working, so you'll be able to keep him distracted for the hour here.
Okay.
Because you are now working towards this analysis, though we'll say that your extra successes are going to go towards delaying the crop failure versus the extra successes going towards delaying Talon himself. He'll still be delayed for the hour, but it's your extra successes won't go to delaying him additional hours. This time.
Okay. So, silly question. I have a focus in infiltration. Is that something that I can use to basically say that I am using that to keep Talon sort of busy and like focused on other things? I know it's kind of a stretch, but
I would say that would have applied if your goal was still at purely distracting him. I'm going to say that that's not going to apply now that that's not your full. Now that that isn't your focus.
Okay.
Of the check, but good idea. I actually think that stretch would have worked for just delaying Talon. So remember that if you go to that again, I would allow that.
Alrighty. So then, how many?
I did not tell you the difficulty. The difficulty will be 2.
Okay. And how much momentum do we have currently?
2.
2.
Would this be something that you would allow aid with? I don't know,
yes.
Like as presenting a united front to help convince Tarek, or
yeah. How so? Is that what you're doing? Is you're joining up as
presenting a united front
this?
because Tarek likes unity, teamwork, and having other people report to him directly, speak to him, take him because Farouk hates me now. So we're gonna.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to allow you a little bit of a fancy thing on this roll. If you want, instead of a purely assist roll, you can do a secondary check to delay Talon as part of the benefit of this, where if you won't be adding to Nollis's successes, it would be a separate check. But if you succeed, your successes can go towards additional hours of delaying Talon.
Okay.
Basically, you get him really excited about this and on board, and he shepherds this process. You basically succeed in getting him onto a task that's helpful, like getting them like on.
Yes, and the diplomacy would help with that, right? Having 2 diplomacy focus. And
yes, your focus can apply.
And a bargain talent too. I don't know if that helps.
You would need to know what your bargain talent does for you. I'm sure it does something
right.
good. If anybody knows of that offhand,
I can bring it up. Just give me a second. Bargain.
Why don't
I
let's
don't
go
have a
to?
copy
Why
of-
don't if you want to? So do you want to go that route, or do you want to just assist, Lee?
I think I can do this because this is good. I just
so
don't
let's
use
do
these
this
dice
then.
that
We'll
roll me
give you
19.
time. We'll give you time to figure out your role is Ian. Let's have Nollis go ahead and do your role then while we get that worked out.
All right.
So go ahead, Nollis. It's a difficulty 2 is your role.
Okay. And I'm so sorry. We've got 2 momentum, and I need to spend 1 to add an extra die?
1 for the first die, correct. So it's very easy to go up to 3.
I feel like it's valuable to do that. Is everybody's cool with me spending the momentum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it.
Alrighty. Oh, I'm so glad I did that. So that was that was presence security. Is that what you ultimately ruled that of, or is that control?
I had said a bunch of things. That is one of the ones that I will accept.
Okay, so control. So I got a 20, which is not good. I got a 3 and a 13, and my control security is a 14. So that's 2 successes and then a crit, like that.
And then a complication.
Cancel out.
Sounds good.
Okay.
We didn't have a focus for you, so you're got a pure success. So you got a success with the complication, and you were looking to. Okay, so what I'm going to say for yours, your complication is just time. It takes you longer than you were hoping to do this. So you are going. It's going to take you 2 hours to accomplish this. Now, on the bright side, this is very much a silver lining for you because you're spending all this time to do this. For both of these hours, you're not going to receive then the decay of the crops. But unfortunately, you're not. You are tied up, not able to do this. Talon, unless Ian succeeds, will also be free after the next hour, and you won't be able to assist with that. So now we're back over to Ian. What is
Bargain
that trait?
is a command division talent, and when negotiating an offer with someone during social conflict, you may re-roll a d20 on your next persuade task to convince that person. If the social conflict involves an extended task, you gain the progression 1 benefit when you roll your challenge die.
Basically meaning you get an auto success once you've succeeded on the check towards seeing like how much the challenge dice is a measure of how successful you were if you succeeded. And it gives you a free success towards it along with the reroll. Pretty darn nice. And I would definitely say that that's the situation we're in. This is also absolutely an extended task type of challenge. So both of those parts are going to apply for you. Yay. Lee,
You're muted.
Yourself.
Sorry, command presence?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Difficulty 2.
And I get 2, and what's the difficulty?
2.
Okay,
you
so I have
get
to
2
have both
successes.
succeed.
But you do get to re-roll
You
one
get
if
to
you
re-roll.
fail or
Okay.
get a challenge.
And you
Get
could
a
buy
compensation.
now you do have to buy dice prior to rolling. You can't roll, see your check fail and be like, oh, let's spend a momentum to buy an extra die. You need to assemble your dice pool before.
Right. I'm going to go, if I can reroll one of them, though, and
That will happen
it's a really high,
afterwards.
my command presence is really good, and I have 2 in diplomacy, I don't know. So I think we can make this work with 2. I've been wrong before, though. Oh, that's pretty good. That's a 10 and a 7. And both those are under the command presence. So
There you go.
There you go.
should I
succeed.
reroll one of them to see if I get a crit, or would that be?
You can if you want. However, you do take the result of the reroll. So if you
No.
roll a complication or a non-success,
that's fairly solid. 7 and 10 is good. We succeed. He's distracted. I can just help him with that. That's good. I don't know what else I can do, and I keep him busy. That's my good.
we
I
will
can do that.
say that mechanically how that works is you do get him on board enough that he's gonna stick with Nollis through all of his work. So you're effectively adding on. So Talon has been handled for the next 2 hours, basically. That it's
All right.
before he will.
That's a good start.
with you again.
All right.
And all that plant stuff. That is both of you. Ian, Lee, you will be able to roll again on the next hour. Nollis is the one who is taken for both. So you will get to roll again. Talon is handled for 2 hours. So I'm going to jot that down here. And we've got our remaining people here. We've got Zonix and Rial, excuse me.
Okay.
What are you two?
Do you want me to just roll my sciencing again to see how I do on the progress track?
Yep,
If
sure.
Succeed, just get that out of the way.
Sure. See how
That's
that finishes
a full hour task, right?
Yep. And we're pretty much moving to full hour at this time since we're coming up on time, and you're doing a great job of accomplishing things. So I'm keeping it at the level of accomplishment of an hour's worth of work to keep us kind of proportional here.
That is 4 successes. I'm pretty sure you're not going to go above a 1 or a 2 on that roll.
I had said it was a 2, so yeah, so you're good.
Okay,
So you got 2 additional momentum there. Nice.
2 additional momentum, so we go up to a 3. And then I roll my 4 for my task.
Yep.
2, 4.
One of your momentum spends, team, that you can do is you can spend a momentum to roll an additional challenge dice as well.
Which, if you want me to, I will. This might take 2 of our momentum to pull everything off, but I'm gladly to roll another one.
What was your challenge dice total? Did you get?
My
did you get
base
6 or
pool is
lesser?
4, And
Oh, yeah,
currently
roll
I have 5 successes.
Do you have any effects that you can?
I have
spend
an
a momentum?
effect, so I can spend a momentum, hit myself to that 6 to get to the second breakthrough. Shall I do that? Okay.
Okay.
Hey, we hit 6. That's another breakthrough.
All right. You finish designing the preservative. What's more is you have succeeded in designing it as a liquid, so it is ready to be brought into the sprinkler systems. It is going to take you a period to manufacture this, so that's going to take a run. That will be a reason engineering check, and we'll say that that's either going to take you 2 checks at 2 or 1 check at 4. And I will let you choose. I will let you decide on that as a team next round. You don't need to worry about that for right now. I wanted to get that out there as you're something to ponder. Let's move on to Zonix here for the final check of this time period. Mundane details. I suppose we could look at that. Let's make that a daring engineering check to look at the damage and very quickly assess how you are going to move on from this. That will be a difficulty 2. I'm going to spend one of my threat to increase the complication range. On that, there may or may not be some live wires still left over from Jenny's handiwork that you need to watch
Fair
out
enough.
for.
Just right off the top, because of the exogender talent, and this is a daring roll, I do get an extra d20 on this. So I'm just so good at gender that I'm really brave. It's not great, though. That is 2 successes and a complication.
And I had said it was difficulty 2, so you pass. For the complication, I'll just take my threat back. So I go back up to 5 threats.
Well,
And what we'll say here is nothing fancy. The penalty is basically that you had to take your time to do this. You get things cleaned up. You do manage to prevent the explosion from damaging any of the crop in any meaningful way. You get Ensign Jenny beamed up to medical, so she can be treated. There's my words, and are able to move on with your tasks. So that'll take us to. We have now completed 1/3 of your time here, so we are entering in to the 4th hour. There is normally this was where the crops were starting to have issues, and they are, however, thanks to the work of Ensign Nollis and Lieutenant Talon, you are busy moving those crops around and getting them really heavily refrigerated for the few that do need that, and thus you have not, had any issues with the crops, or with the crops failing. So we'll go ahead and just open it up here. Again, Ensign Nollis is busy this hour. Talon is also occupied during this time, so he's not trying to glom on to anybody. What's everybody else doing?
I'm going to ask Ensign Rollo to take care of the manufacturing as the engineering expert in the group. I might be almost as good, but I'm not as good. So I will assist. Because if I can assist, we can speed it up, maybe.
And each of the checks take the same amount of time, by the way. So if you do the 4 and you succeed, you've saved yourself the time of doing the two checks. If that wasn't super clear.
Yeah, let's shoot for the 4. Spend a momentum on it is my call. Is what I would suggest for you. So you'll roll at least 3 die, and I'll roll 1 to add to it.
All right. I am going to make this more interesting as the GM. You've just been doing so well today, which I have to say to everybody who's out there, this is a particular problem of mine GMing. My Star Trek people are very good and professional, and they work as a team, and they accomplish stuff way too well. You're way too good at your jobs. This is not nearly crazy enough for a stream here, so I'm going to spend 2 threats to increase the difficulty all the way up to the max of 5 for this time.
That only
Now-
takes 2? I thought that would take 3.
It takes 2 per die. Now, one thing that we had forgotten to mention up to this point is you can also buy dice by giving Q more threats. And you can mix and match. So, for example, you can buy the first die with 1 threat and then spend 2 momentum on the second die, or vice versa, and you can do that. Again, you can only buy up to 3, but you can do that with any combination. So you could give me up to 6 threat to get 3 extra dice. Q does not recommend that.
So if we spend 1 threat and 2 momentum, we're down to 0, but you get to roll 2 extra die, and I will assist you as I have the ability to assist in engineering, and I can potentially help us succeed.
That makes sense. And yeah, that'll work. And if it is a success, that'll get us the free advantage too if I spend 2 momentum. So
Yeah.
or by
Yep.
the momentum.
Q is gaining 1 threat.
All right, I go back up to 4 threats.
Go ahead and roll your 4 die.
Okay. Before I do, I would just like to ask about this manufacturing process. Is this synthesizing? I do have a focus in replicators. Would this be using the replicator to generate the material, or?
I think that is a very fine way to say that you're going about it and utilize that talent. So yes, I mean yes, you basically would have to, but certainly you can declare that you are, and thus for sure take advantage. So absolutely.
And I'm
That sounds excellent.
call my focus of botany probably still applicable. So
Absolutely. Yep. So your
I would just like to
focus on
interpret
your
this.
assist will apply.
Choose to interpret this as part of your job, just bringing people their coffee. So you have to know how to program the replicator to get it right for folks.
I'm pretty sure there's a throwaway line on some episode of Star Trek of somebody being credited as like really good at giving commands to the replicator.
they recently
goodness.
struggled to replicate Rack to Geno in Strange New Worlds. No spoilers. It was a whole thing.
That's awesome. To be fair, it was a process in DS9 as well. It took them a while. They complained about it. The crew complains about it for a few episodes of it being crappy, especially on the runabouts.
Right. How'd you do?
I think I just succeeded on my own.
That's okay. I'll
that
add
is-
momentum.
Nice.
Oh, that is the wrong one. Sorry. If I am reading this right, that is 2 crits and a success.
And I added a success. So we gain back 2 momentum.
Yep, that's 2 crits and a success. All right, so that's 5. Yep, that's 5. And well, you said 2. Yeah, so you're getting 2 back. Nice, very nice work. All right, you succeed in manufacturing the preservative, and it is all hooked up to the systems. And it didn't take any extra time for you to do that. So that won't be taking effect until after this hour. But, as it so happens, that perfectly coincides with the end of Nollis's efforts to bunch around the plants. So this basically will arrest the crops from going bad. So you're basically not going to have decay of your crops anymore. I am going to say that there is a point where it gets even worse after the next 3 hours. If you aren't complete by then, we might start to have a little bit of damage. However, that was going to be a rapid increase versus now it may start. So you have absolutely done a great job in preventing the decay of the crops and have bought yourself several hours of time in order to figure the rest of that out. This also
Love to hear.
absolutely counts as one of your successes. This product is adding on several more days for the new plants that are getting this grouping, and thus you've effectively saved the crops except for the ones who are already past that breaking point. Those are the ones that you're now working on. There are enough of those that there's more work to be done. But yeah, absolutely fantastic job, team. You are nebulously 40% complete with your task here, give or take, depending on how the rest of your solutions go. All right. Moving on. Excellent work there, team. Who and what else are we going to be doing here?
So you said two things earlier that I've got questions about.
Okay.
One was that it was going to take Nahus 2 hours to kind of do what he was doing. Does that mean that he basically doesn't get anything else to do during this time block?
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So you will.
Okay.
So you're not going to roll on this particular period. Yep.
All right. Well, then I've got nothing else.
Was that everyone? I thought we had one left. Oh, nice. We will move on to the next hour then. Perfect. All right. Very loud sneeze from my dog surprised me there. Talon is back on the field here. Nahus, you are also available again at the top of this hour. We are in hour 5 for those of you who are counting. You've got this and one more hour until the festival begins. So you are running up on time to be done by then, but as we've said, you are doing very good work here. If Talon were a capable supervisor, he would definitely be complimenting you on how fast and how creatively you've been working.
I would suggest for Talon, because I get an actions round, maybe I could, like, we just created a breakthrough. This preservative is very useful to preserve. No pun intended. That is to say, the chemical formula really should be replicated, written down. We need to, write out, maybe brainstorm some application. This should be, we should know this stuff. This should be written down, and that's data entry, and he's good at that. And since we have our engineering people working on the engineering, maybe the two of us could work on that, and that would distract Talon for a little bit. And, maybe, you see, sir, I really think that given we have our engineers going, this would be something very useful to do and might earn you some commendation. If you were to bring this to before, you would be the one who was responsible for the credit, leading our team the way you have. And so between the two of us, I think we can absolutely come up with a neat, detailed explanation for Starkey headquarters on how to manufacture and keep this in our database.
All right. We'll make this a presence command check. Difficulty 1. That was a very good argument.
This is what I do. I'm the face of the party. Okay. And I get two dice. It's difficulty 1.
So you just need one success.
At 20, and I have very good presence command, so we'll see.
Do you have a focus that applies?
I have diplomacy.
Yeah, that'll apply.
I have 2 diplomacy. I have it twice because I'm just that good at
That's why you're saying
my,
2 diplomacy.
my thing.
Gotcha.
I'm like diplomacy. I am Mr. Talk to people and get solutions. And if I hadn't had an explosion right when I was talking to Farouk, but this is how it goes. Okay, that's a 5 and an 8. And my command is, I think, 11 for just presence alone.
Nice.
Because I'm good at people.
There you go. So you succeed and you gain 1 momentum back. So you definitely succeed in distracting Talon for the hour. I will say that if you would like, you can undertake a mini extended task yourself, as you intrigue Talon. While commendation is not a value that I personally strive for, not overly, not as a evolved Vulcan people,
Of
it does
course.
behoove me to find improvements and efficiencies for the Federation as a whole. It does
Of
seem
course, and
that
this would be
your invention does have several intriguing properties. It is possible that Starfleet scientific journals should be made aware of this breakthrough. Yes,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
so let us work on a beginning draft of this and see if we can't find an appropriate avenue to share this discovery that we have created as a team.
Of course.
So I will allow you, if you would like, to spend additional momentum, and we'll say that it stacks up the same way as dice roll. So for one momentum, you will get 1 extra hour delayed of Talon's time on this, for a total of 3, so 2 more momentum. You can delay him for 2 hours, and if you had 6, you could delay him for 3 hours. That's in addition to, if you would like to roll on this extended check, then actually, I'll change that up in my brain here. You can do it this way, and this is a single. Or if you want to do the extended check, let me know, and we'll change up how you're doing this.
So I would just roll next hour. I would just roll it again. And
yep,
maybe
so yeah, if we do it as the once, you can add some momentum and delay him for a little bit longer. If you do the extended check, you're working on a permanent solution to Talon, basically.
Oh, and also, you guys preserve the momentum for you guys because you're doing the technical stuff, and that gets finicky. So maybe save the momentum for the science people, and that gives me something to do because I'm not good at science. Is what we need at this point because Ferg's not going to trust us.
Okay,
but
that
if
works.
I can keep Turok distracted while they figure out the science.
So we're going to work this as your own extended task, kind of how we saw Rial doing that for the hypothetical. So you have succeeded now. Now you need to roll on your work track of basically getting Talon to adopt the idea that this is a journal piece that should be written, and that would be his responsibility.
Oh, absolutely.
So you have succeeded in that initial roll. So like I said, you need to roll on the work track. So you are going to roll challenge dice, D6s, equal to your discipline score. So however big your command is.
My command is, let's see, command, that would be a 4. Yes, it is a 4.
Okay, so you're going to roll 4 D6s. Those are 4 challenge dice.
1, 2, 3, 4. There we go.
Yep. We will translate that for you to the real numbers once we finish here.
All right, that's 4, 4, a 6, and a 5. Hopefully that's good.
Okay. And Jen is translating that for us here.
Okay, what were the numbers again?
4,
4, 6, and 5. All high. I don't know if that's
6
good.
and 5 are successes with effect.
Ooh, okay, we like that. So 2 successes with effect.
If you spend a momentum, those can become successes.
Right. And then we have 2 4s, which are just
zeros.
Successes, maybe?
So
okay.
1 is 1,
so
2
I have
is
2
2, 3
successes.
and 4 are 0, 5 and 6 are 1 plus effect.
Okay.
So it will take 6 again for a breakthrough on this. You can get up to 4 successes, which would not be a breakthrough quite yet.
But it would be next turn. I could maybe get a breakthrough.
Yeah, you could spend additional momentum if you have any left. To
how much do we have left?
1 momentum per success.
How much momentum do we have? Jen, how much do we have?
3.
3. Okay.
So you go down to 1 if you wanted a breakthrough right away here.
Maybe just spend 1 of it because you might need it.
Yeah, spend both. I don't see any reason not to.
It's usually more worthwhile meta-wise to go for the breakthrough if you're going to spend the momentum. It's obviously up to you, but that's usually
sure. Okay. All right, so that would bring us up to 4 successes.
So you have a breakthrough. You are halfway. It's only going to require 2 breakthroughs for this path. And yeah, Talon begins starting to write up the treatise. You begin kind of working out the basic outline of what the journal will look like. He's doing
Yeah.
some basic research to see if there's other articles or if there's been another invention along these lines that you just haven't heard of.
Yeah, makes sense. You got to thoroughly research these things. All right.
That'll take
Cool.
you until the next hour. Awesome. Talon has been handled for this period. Who's next?
Those of us humble working grunts really appreciate y'all taking all these bullets.
Hey, you're the ones doing the most important part of this whole mission. We're just trying to ease.
We're just running interference. This is what command does. You help your team succeed.
All right.
And sometimes that means backing off.
Sometimes
which
it's a shooting
we've
war.
learned.
Sometimes it's an overeager Vulcan.
Yeah. So you had mentioned that you had something coming up that was going to be security heavy at some point, and I don't know if we've already passed that or if
We had not, and we've been moving really quickly through this here. So we will go ahead and have this up here, though, at this point. So you
don't have
hear...
to. I just wasn't sure if that was
If you've
something
got a
that was
different idea,
an
we can just
opportunity.
keep it moving, especially because we are kind of coming up on time here, and you're doing great. So I was just kind of GM fiating and being like, we just don't need that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm down for helping out
Go
on a
for it.
security thing.
That's okay.
It works for me.
Let's focus on whatever's going to accomplish the thing. But in that case, Nihilus doesn't really have anything.
I'm out of ideas, so it's going to be up to you two. So however you two can do to help out. I built the preservative.
For additional things, there are some additional maintenance and power items to finish up.
Nihilus has a 1 in engineering. He wouldn't.
Well,
tackle
I do have a collaborative ability. If someone else tries to make an engineering check, I can spend a momentum to let them use my score on that.
Yes.
Well, there you go. So while you're doing that, and your task was easy enough that we'll say that that's something you could definitely walk someone through the comms on another engineering task and still assist.
Honestly, I kind of imagine it's just like secondhand knowledge from them constantly going, okay, now I'm opening up this panel. Now I'm stripping these wires. Now I'm...
even though you have a 1 in engineering, you still would have gone through some basic Starfleet understanding of engineering systems. So someone else with the knowledge can really pretty easily walk you through that sort of thing, especially.
So
with that kind of talent.
Basically, Nihilus is watching Zonax's YouTube tutorial on how to fix this HVAC unit from on this other planet, essentially.
Yep, and you're good at being able to explain of okay, now I have removed this box, and Zonax can kind of walk you through the next step from there, kind of thing. So you will replace the engineering score of 4, and this will be a control. This will be control engineering task, and we'll say this is difficulty 2.
Okay.
This does also let you use one of my focuses when we do this, so if any of those... I don't know exactly what you're doing here, but if any of those are relevant...
I don't know either. I was just told that there were a couple engineering
kind of walk
things
through
that
this.
need to be-
This is really kind of basic. This is kind of a catch-all task. You are finishing up. You're moving around of the husks that were in danger. You are patching up the last few pieces of maintenance that needed to be done as far as power goes that the EPS conduits didn't handle.
Do the power. You get the focus on that one.
Yeah, power systems, that'll do it.
So basically, this is Zonax doing this, but me taking responsibility for the bad rolls is essentially what this is.
No,
You're the hands. You're the hands operating. You're the control attributes.
So it's still your attribute. So your reason plus Zonax's discipline,
Control.
or your insight plus Zonax's discipline. In this case,
I see where you're
control medicine or control engineering, or however it's got to work out.
Okay.
going. So yeah, your control plus 4 as Zonax's engineering score will be your goal for this roll.
All right. So then I've got a 9 and a 9, which is below 14, so 2 successes.
Nice.
Beautiful. You complete
Fantastic.
the rest of those repairs. The warehouses are finally fixed up and ready, that completes the rest of the power. That completes the rest of the power.
Okay.
And that, actually, really, somewhat anticlimactically, team, you realize that you have finished up. This is going to be enough. If you wanted to do extra credit, you certainly would be able to stick around and continue playing with some other systems and see if you can get things working even more. They will suffer a couple of percentages of crop loss still over the next few days while the rest of these things are put into place, but that is well within the tolerance of the 10% that was requested of you. You will still be considered to have passed this with flying colors. No one will complain, in other words, if you decide to call it here and go enjoy yourselves at the festival. Except Talon, who has come back and is still writing this and sees the rest of you kind of celebrating collectively. And wait, why have you stopped?
Nahlis will go and distract Talon so the rest of them can go have fun.
I'm more, between Nahlis and I, we can probably get him to, walk him through exactly what we did and how we can write the reports and the things. And I mean, that we could do that for an hour, and then they could go off in the festival, and then maybe after an hour, we could go off once he's satisfied that we got everything.
All right, we'll give your final check here to see if the two of you can walk Talon through this in a timely manner and still get out to enjoy the festival. So this will be command presence for both of you. Decide who wants to be the primary and who wants to be the assist. This is a difficulty 2.
I mean, I only got
and I'm going to go ahead, because why not, and spend some of my last bits of threat here. I'm going to go down to 2 and increase the difficulty of this to 3. Unfortunately, you got Talon excited about writing this report, and now he really wants you to write the report with him.
Will my xenobiology focus?
This is good.
What focus?
My xenobiology. What focus?
Yes.
Plants and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm good at diplomacy too. I don't know if that will come into focus.
I'm going to say that diplomacy doesn't come into play on this one, as you're now back to really the science of the matter. The diplomacy part that you did was allowing for the other two to go have fun.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Which, listen, teamwork. Okay, so, and we don't have any more momentum, do we? So
I think you are out. You could spend. Then remember, whoever is the assist cannot buy additional dice. It is only the primary roller that can buy.
Right. I have a command presence of 14, so I don't know if you have more than that.
I don't.
Okay, so be the primary. Okay. Yep. So, yeah. And then a reminder then as well that you can buy extra dice with threat if you so choose.
That's the last roll of the game. Why not?
Yeah, that's true. Maybe if we give you one threat, I get 3 dice and you get 1.
It's however you're spending it. So and you do need to spend it all for 1 die. So if you're buying the first die then with threat, then it's only 1 threat. If you're buying the second die with threat, that's 2 threats.
And we don't have any momentum, so it's all.
We technically have 1 momentum.
So we could do 1 momentum, 1 threat, and get 2 dice, right?
No, it's 1 momentum, 2 threat.
And 2 threat. Okay, so 1 momentum, 2 threat, and then we get 2 dice. That gives us 2 dice.
Okay.
So that gives me 4 and him 1.
Sounds good. So I go back.
And we need 3 to succeed.
Correct.
Okay. Sound good?
Yep. I got a 2.
All right.
So 2 successes with my focus.
Okay, good.
All
so
the
as long as I don't
get out of here and get to enjoy themselves.
I got a 16, so that fails, but I got a 1 and a 4 as well. And 16 is out of the complication range, so
there you go.
So we walk them through. We understand what
I missed yours. Sorry, did you succeed as well?
I got 2 total.
Oh, nice. We walk out of this with momentum in place.
There you go. You catch up to Rial and Zonix, enjoying the festival in progress. There are
This is good.
a few things even that you can see and observe before the end of the day here. There is a strong competition, which is seeing how much damage you can do to one of the husks in a single swing of the Klingon batleth at the thing, as it
That's fun.
actually does take quite a bit of talent and strength to harvest. And we say harvest, the Klingons not inaccurately say fight and slay, as it is quite a task normally to take care of.
I'm sorry, I have to see Nahus do this.
Nahus is definitely
Please.
going to enter into this because Fitness 10, Security 4, friend to the Klingons, and he's been studying this stuff for the last 6 hours.
That's fair.
Take the momentum, do it.
You
There's
walk
one
up
momentum, use it.
You walk up to the area and you see your pal Breast actually has been competing. She has done pretty well. She actually carved through 2 stalks with a single cleave of her back.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty
And
solid.
you can see that there are not a lot. You can see from the previous records, they basically have the stalks laid out to show the damage on an area, and you can see by the hacks that it's not a lot of even Klingons who have made it past a single stalk. So hers is definitely vying for top spot here. And with that,
Okay.
take your
Go for it.
spot here, Nahus.
There's
How do
one,
you
do it?
one momentum, use it if you want.
Describe your technique for us of how you're approaching this.
Probably not, but I don't suppose my endurance focus would factor into this.
Absolutely, I would say.
Okay.
So you're tired from a long day, and it is very much this is a very cellulose heavy thing. Like, it's hard to cut through. So a knowledge of how just to last and do tasks longer is going to help you put everything into this swing.
Okay. Yeah. So Nahus steps up. He takes the batleth, and he basically, because the batleth has 3 handles on it. So he's going to hold it at the far end, like one of the far handles, and he kind of raises up, and kind of like extends up in this like kind of initial pose. And as he comes down, he's pulling with his arms and he's twisting his hips, like he's basically putting his full body into it. And instead of trying to go straight down, he's basically going to try to curve it and kind of like do a lateral cut, so there's less distance between like where he starts and where he's trying to end. But that's going to be 3 dice. That is a 2, so that's going to succeed, and then that is a 13, so that's going to be a total of 3 dice, and that's a 7, so that's 4 successes total.
Nice.
All right. And we'll operate this purely as a simple contest. So there's a difficulty 0. So you got 4 successes, cutting all the way through 2 entire stalks. You have taken the lead of this competition, and Brax is eyeing you in a way that you are acutely aware you are now being sized up as a potential mate.
I'm okay with this.
Which,
Yeah.
from a Klingon, is a hint of danger.
I mean, yeah.
That's okay.
Listen, have fun with it. If she's into it, go for it.
Listen,
I mean, he took a chance. I'm not sure if this was a mistake, but he will be messy afterward.
I'm just going to say, baby got Braxed.
Baby got Braxed.
I can think of no better way for us to call it than that. So I think with that, we will call that a success. Congratulations, away team. You succeeded in preserving all of the plant life.
And we only lost
no
one
red shirts
red shirt.
died.
And only one ensign died.
Yeah, the red shirt didn't die. So, bonus for that.
True. Just possibly mortally wounded. It's totally fine.
We have good med team. We have really good med team on the ship.
She's
fine.
probably fine.
Yeah.
as a notation for this being played later, if anybody's watching, this will be up on the characters that I made, at least the four of us. The four characters will be up as in the Patreon as a reward in the future. Patreon will be opening up sometime in mid-August once we're full of setting everything up. We have our tech specialist working on that, and you'll be good to go. I'm back next week, Saturday, for the for my Secrets of Small Gods campaign. We're finishing up the beginner box of Pathfinder and moving on to the real campaign after that. Lee, you're up the week after that, aren't you?
Yes, with Wonderland complications, they're going to convince the card people to. They're going to negotiate with the card people and try to save a missing merchant who they have to negotiate with the sneaky house that has the mafia connection. So we'll see how that goes.
And then the last game of the month is the Light of Cinders. And that's our typical game that runs there. Yep. Nobody is part of that. Patch is a great player, very entertaining. I've watched an episode or two of that. It's hard because we have so much programming. It is kind of hard to keep up. We just finished Ben as our wonderful game master. Last episode posted 2 days ago, so Thursday, August 3rd, for season 1, or we're calling it Run 1, with 10 issues for Vigilantes Union Local 13. And we are 11 episodes, currently 11 episodes in out of the 15 episode first season for the Concord. Both Vigilantes Union and Concord are on YouTube only. We look forward to seeing more from you all later. I'm going to send everybody over to see Emerald Sky, who is part of the mutual aid fundraiser going on for our the Trans versus partner Gender Meowster and the Meowster Federation, Meowster's Clouder of folks. So I'm going to raid us over there and enjoy everything that's happening there. Have a great time. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye. Take care.